The bandsaw screamed through 2 inches of black walnut, and for a few seconds that sound was the only thing in my head. No thoughts, no worries. Just the line I was cutting and the taste of sawdust in the air. It always tasted the same. Burnt sugar and dry dirt. It meant I was working, not thinking. My phone buzzed at my hip for the 3rd time in 10 minutes. I ignored it. If the shop was not on fire, it could wait. I killed the power. The blade spun down. The room went quiet, except for the old heater rattling in the corner and my own breathing. I ran my thumb along the fresh cut. Smooth as glass. Perfect. That was when the heavy front door slammed open. High heels on concrete did not belong in my fabrication shop, but I knew that rhythm. Fast. Uneven. A little desperate. I turned and wiped my hands on a rag. Natalia Vance stood just inside the yellow safety line like she was scared to cross it. Camel coat, hair perfect, makeup sharp. She was usually the calm CEO who could freeze a boardroom with one look. Right now, her hazel eyes were too wide. She held a crumpled legal envelope in one hand and her phone in the other like they were both weapons. "I need you to do something insane," she said. "You're trespassing, Natalia," I said. "This is a hard hat zone." "I know." Her voice cracked on that one word. The perfect boss mask slipped for a second. "Kaisen, I need you to come to dinner with my father tonight, as my husband." The words hit like a dropped hammer. I did not laugh. I just stared at her until she swallowed. "Say no," she added fast. "You can say no. If you say no, I'll find another way." That part mattered. I leaned back against the walnut slab. "Start over. Why is your father suddenly interested in my love life?" She blew out a shaky breath. "Victor is in town. He's at the Ritz. He brought an attorney. He is holding acquisition papers for my firm. There is a clause in the trust. He can dissolve it if he convinces the board I am unstable or reckless. If I walk in there alone, he does that. Tomorrow, he sells my company into his holding group." She lifted the envelope. Her fingers were white around it. "I lose control," she said quietly. "I lose the contracts. I lose the right to pick my own vendors, your shop included." There it was, the hook. Real life, not romance. "Why me?" I asked, keeping my voice flat. "Because you are the only man I know who can stand in a room with Victor Vance and not blink," she said. "And because you already know my business. You built half of it with your hands." I looked at her for real now, not the way I looked at a client. Dark circles under her eyes, shoulders tight. A woman who was always feared, suddenly afraid. "I'm not your employee," I said. "I run my own shop. You can't order me into anything." "I know," she nodded quickly. "That's why I came here, not to the office, not to a conference room. Here, where you can throw me out." Her honesty hit harder than the cold air. "Fine," I said at last. 3 hours, dinner only, no private rooms, no hotel keys, no favors after." Her shoulders dropped like somebody cut a wire. "Thank you." "One condition," I added. She blinked. "Name it." "Friday, you come out with me. My world, my friends. No suits, no mergers. You handle my reality for one night." Her eyes narrowed, offended and curious at the same time. "Why?" "Because if I'm going to lie to your father," I said, stepping close enough to smell rain and expensive jasmine on her coat, "I need to know you can be real." The plan was simple on paper and a mess in real life. 2 hours later, I was standing in her glass and steel office instead of my dusty shop. She was pacing behind her marble desk with her phone pressed to her ear. When she hung up, she put both hands flat on the desk like she had to hold the building up. "Victor is already at the Ritz," she said. "He brought his lawyer." "Of course he did," I said. She shoved a garment bag toward me. "Put this on, please." "You know my size?" I asked. "I approve every vendor badge that walks onto my sites, Kaisen. I notice things." I took the bag. "Who am I supposed to be?" "You," she said. "Just you in a suit, the Ritz will not chew up." "I can lie," I said. "Question is, can you keep your chin up while you do it?" Quote. Her gaze flicked away. "I can." Quote. "In the executive bathroom, I changed into the charcoal suit. It fit better than anything I owned." The tie sat neat under my collar in a Windsor knot my grandfather had taught me. In the mirror, I looked like money. I felt like a fraud with good shoulders. When I walked back out, Natalia had changed too. Dark green dress, clean lines, power without sparkle. The neckline was simple, but the way the fabric moved when she turned made my throat dry. "How do I look?" she asked, her voice smaller than the room. "Like you're going into battle," I said. "Good." She opened a drawer and pulled out a small velvet box. "The ring," she said, "a prop. It needs to look real." She held out a simple gold band. I took it. It was heavier than it looked. "Family," she said. "My grandmother's." Victor always believed women were accessories. I want him to see something that looks permanent. I slid the ring onto her finger. It was loose. It spun. "It'll slip," I said. "I lost weight," she muttered. "Stress." I dug in my pocket and took out a small roll of gray friction tape I kept for tools. "Give me the ring," I said. She stared at the tape like it was some kind of magic. She handed me the ring. I wrapped a thin strip inside the band, then slid it back onto her finger. Snug. Solid. She turned her hand under the light. "That is the least romantic thing I have ever seen." "Good," I said. "Romance is fragile." "This isn't." On the way to the Ritz, her driver made a quick stop at a boutique with gold letters in the window. Natalia walked in like she owned the street and came back out with 2 small shopping bags that probably cost more than my first welder. "My dress is fine," she said, breathing tight. "But Victor expects a show. He expects normal. I do not look normal." "You look like a CEO," I said. "That's the problem for him, not you." She changed into a blush pink blazer over a white top, softer, warmer. More like the woman who had laughed in my bar on another night that had not happened yet. In the Ritz lounge, the lights were low and the jazz was soft. I was still in my gray t-shirt with the suit over my arm. I refused to dress up until I saw the field. Victor Vance sat in a leather chair, heavy glass in his hand, filling the room like he paid rent on the air. His eyes swept over me. T-shirt, work hands, garment bag. I could see the judgment. Natalia's smile clicked on, smooth and controlled. She angled her body toward me like we shared a private joke only we could hear. Her eyes met mine. One clear signal. "Stay with me." "Father," she said, "this is Kaisen Miller," I said, stepping forward. He did not stand. He did not offer a hand. He just watched. "Miller," he said at last. "Don't know the name." "Then you don't read your own project reports," I said. His mouth twitched, almost a smile. By the time we walked into Le Monarque for dinner, I was in the suit, and she was on my arm. I pulled out her chair. She let me. Victor's lawyer sat beside him in a pinstripe suit, eyes sharp. "You in real estate?" Victor asked. "Development?" "Specialized fabrication," I said. "High-end interiors." "A decorator," he said. "A builder," I corrected. "There's a difference." His gaze cut to our hands. He saw the ring. "So married," he said. Natalia's throat worked. I did not give her time to drown. I reached over and took her hand on the table. Warm. Shaking. She turned her palm and laced her fingers with mine like it was a choice, not a script. "Yes," I said. "Private, we like it that way." Dinner turned into a fight. Victor pushed questions about money, deals, and risk. I answered every one. I knew my numbers. I knew what walnut and brass cost because I paid the bills. I knew her sites because I walked them. Then Natalia reached for her water and knocked the heavy silver salt cellar off the table. It hit the floor with a sharp crack. She froze. A soft sound caught in her chest. "Clumsy," Victor said. "Just like your mother." Natalia flinched like he had slapped her. I bent, picked up the cellar and checked the hinge. The pin had popped. "It's fine," I said calmly. "Sterling is soft. It needs a gentle hand." "That is antique," Victor snapped. I took a dessert spoon and used the handle as a lever, pressed the pin back into place in one clean motion, and set the cellar back on the table, good as new. "You can't force things that are meant to hold," I said. "You ruin them." Victor stared at the fixed hinge, then at me. "Impressive," he muttered. Under the table, Natalia's hand found my knee. She squeezed hard. I covered her fingers. Her skin was ice. On the ride back to her building, the car was quiet. Streetlights slid across her face. She stared at her ring. "He bought it," she whispered. "For now." "He's suspicious," I said. "He'll dig. He'll try to turn this into a weapon." She nodded once. "He'll try to paint me as reckless." "And what do you do when he does?" I asked. Her jaw tightened. "I don't fold." Then she looked at me, eyes softer. "You saved me in there." "I fixed a salt shaker," I said. "You stood between me and him." Her hand hovered near mine, then dropped. "Friday, you're friends. What time?" "7, I said. "The Rusty Anchor." "Logan Square." She made a small face. "I don't own jeans." "Buy some," I said. I reached into the back seat, grabbed the scarf she had dropped, and wrapped it around her shoulders. My knuckles brushed the back of her neck. She went still. "You did good tonight," I said. "Get some sleep." "Kaisen," she said softly. "Thank you." I got out of the car before I could reach for her again and turn the lie into something real. Friday came with sleet that turned Chicago into gray slush. The kind of night normal people stayed home. I got to the Rusty Anchor early anyway. The Rusty Anchor was not the kind of place you brought a CEO. It smelled like beer and fryer oil. The wood tables were scarred. The neon signs flickered. It was honest. That was why I liked it. Marco, the owner, slid a pint of beer onto my table. "So," he said, leaning on his elbows, "is the scary boss lady actually coming, or am I drinking this for you?" "She's coming," I said, tearing the edge of a cardboard coaster into strips. "Why are you doing this, Kai?" he asked. "You always gotta fix something. Broken chairs, broken trucks, now broken executives." "She's not broken." I snapped before I could stop myself. "She's under load." Marco raised both hands. "Easy." I was kidding. The door opened then, and the cold rolled in with her. For a second, the whole bar went quiet. Natalia stood at the entrance in dark jeans that looked stiff and new, a black turtleneck, and ankle boots. Her hair was pulled back in a low knot. She looked like she had walked out of the wrong movie and into this one by mistake. She saw me, straightened her shoulders, and started walking over. "You found it," I said, standing. "My driver found it," she said, eyes moving over the neon, the old jukebox, the crooked pool table. "It smells like yeast." "That's the beer," Marco said, sliding up beside me. "I'm Marco." I poured drinks and judged strangers. "Natalia," she said, shaking his hand like she was signing a contract. "I design buildings." "We know," he said with a grin. "Sit. Trivia starts in 5. Category is 80s music. You know your Duran Duran." She sat carefully like the bench might bite. "I was born in 88, she said. "But I have a good memory." The night started slow. She held her beer like it might poison her. The first question came over the speakers. "What band released the song Hungry Like the Wolf in 1982? Marco frowned and looked at me. Before I could answer, Natalia said, "Duran, Duran." The single dropped in May. Marco stared. "Okay, that's creepy." As the questions kept coming, something shifted. Every time she snapped out an answer, her shoulders loosened a little. At one point, she laughed. Not the polite, controlled boardroom sound. A real laugh that came from deep in her chest and surprised her. People stared for a moment, then went back to their drinks. Midway through the round, her phone buzzed on the table. Victor's name flashed across the screen. She glanced at it, then flipped the phone face down. "Work?" I asked. "Victor," she said. "He sent a revised contract. He wants to audit my vendor list." Her eyes had a sharp edge now. I texted him back. I told him the vendor list is proprietary and he can wait for quarterly review. She lifted her chin. "I handled it." I stopped shredding the coaster and looked at her. "Good," I said. "That's what you do when he pushes. You push back." Quote. Her knee brushed mine under the table. This time, she did not pull away. "This place is strange," she said quietly, watching Marco bicker with a regular over a wrong answer. No one cares who my father is. That's kind of the point, I said. What about you, she asked. Do you care? Quote, I respect you, I said. That is harder to earn than like. Her smile flickered, then settled into something softer. Respect is good, she said. Respect is safe. Later, when the night wound down and the bar grew quieter, she stepped outside with me. The sleet had turned to fine snow. Your world is loud, she said, tucking her hands into her coat pockets. And yours is sharp, I said. Now you've seen both. She looked up at me, eyes searching my face like she was about to say something important. Instead, she just said, thank you for tonight, and slipped into her car. I watched the taillights fade into the slush and told myself this was still a deal. A favor, nothing more. By Monday morning, that lie was working less and less. I was in the shop, welding a custom brass railing for her penthouse project, when the front door slammed open hard enough to shake the glass. Miller, a voice barked. I flipped my visor up. Victor Vance stood in the middle of my bay in a long, dark coat, his lawyer at his side, and a third guy with a camera hanging around his neck. It looked wrong in the oil and dust. Victor, I said, setting the torch down, you're in the wrong building. Am I? He sneered at the metal smell. I did some digging, Kaisen. He dropped a file on my workbench. Pages spilled out. Vendor agreements, invoices, my shop name on her letterhead. Preferred contractor, he said. A man she's been seen with after hours. He tossed a small stack of grainy photos next. Natalia and I leaving her building. Me holding her car door. The two of us walking into the rusty anchor. I have proof of an inappropriate relationship with a key vendor, Victor said. Conflict of interest. Reputational risk. The board hates risk. What do you want? I asked. My voice came out level. Years of holding steel in place while welds cooled had taught me how to keep my hands steady. Disappear, he said. Resign from every project tied to her firm. Tell her you were playing her for a payout. Break her in public so she crawls back to the family fold to save face. His eyes were sharp and mean. Do that, and I do not blacklist your shop from every job site in the Midwest. And if I don't, I asked. Then I ruin you both, he said simply, but mostly her. I will make sure every firm hears she uses romance to manipulate contracts. He turned and walked out like the decision was already made. My hands did not start shaking until the door shut behind him. I did not call Natalia. If I called, this would turn into feelings and panic. Victor wanted panic. He wanted noise. So I did what I always did when something looked ready to collapse. I sat down at my old metal desk, opened the project schedule for the penthouse, and went to work. I listed materials, labor, deadlines, alternative suppliers. I broke down the timeline into hard facts. On time, under budget, no risk. A plan that showed any board we were not a weak point. We were the strongest beam under her name. Then I printed another paper. Not a resignation from my own shop. A termination of my vendor contract with her firm. Effective immediately. Signed and dated. If that letter hit her legal inbox, Victor lost his cleanest weapon. No active contract. No open invoices. No vendor conflict to flash in front of men in suits. Just his photos and his anger. At 4:30, I walked into her office with a folder under my arm. She was on the phone, smiling. Not the mask, a real rush of relief. We got it, she said. The investors loved the stability story. She saw me and her smile grew. Kaisen, it's working. Victor has been quiet. I think we... I set the folder on her desk. Her words stopped. What is this? She asked. Your penthouse plan, I said. If you authorize overtime for the night crew, you stay under budget and hit the deadline. It keeps your numbers clean. And the other paper? Her fingers hovered over the folder like it might burn. My contract, I said, ended, effective immediately. Color drained from her face. Why? Victor came to my shop, I said. He has photos and invoices. He's going to push a conflict of interest story. He wants a show. If I stay tied to your projects, he keeps a knife at your throat. Let him try, she snapped. standing so fast her chair bumped the wall. The fear in her eyes burned into anger. "We can fight him." "He wants you to fight loud," I said, stepping closer but leaving a careful space. "He wants drama. If I cut the tie, he loses his clean angle. No vendor, no scandal, just a father with a grudge." "So you're cutting yourself loose," she said. Her voice shook now, not from fear, but from fury. "You are leaving me alone in front of him." "I'm removing leverage," I said. "Not abandoning you." "And what about us?" she asked. The word hung in the air between us. My chest tightened. "There is no us," I forced out. "There was a deal. The deal is done." She came around the desk fast and fisted her hands in my lapels. "Do not lie to me," she said. Her voice was low and rough. "Not after Friday." Quote. I looked down at her hands. I wanted to pull her in and hold her there until the world went quiet. Instead, I took her fingers gently and peeled them away from my jacket, one by one. "You do not need a husband to beat Victor," I said quietly. "You just need his weapon gone. Right now, I am the weapon." Her eyes shone wet, but she did not cry. She did not beg. "Go," she said, voice sharp. "If you are leaving, go." I nodded once. "Finish the penthouse," I said. "Use the plan." Then I walked out of her office, and this time I did not look back. 3 days later, I was staring at a frozen pizza on my counter like it could give me answers. The shop was closed. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. My phone was face down on the table. I had not called her. She had not called me. That was the deal, I told myself. I had cut the tie. I had done the smart thing. So why did it feel like I had cut out my own ribs with it? My phone rang. Marco's name flashed across the screen. I picked up. "Yeah?" "Turn on channel 5, he said. His voice sounded tight. "Now." My chest went cold. I grabbed the remote and hit the power. The TV came on in the middle of a live shot from a ballroom. Crystal lights, big banners, men in tuxes, women in gowns. A reporter stood in the corner, smiling into the camera. "We're live at the Vance Industries merger gala." The camera cut to the stage. Victor stood at a podium, arms wide, silver tie shining in the lights. Next to him was Natalia. Silver dress, hair swept up, posture perfect, eyes empty, like someone had switched her off inside. "I am proud to announce," Victor boomed, "that Vance Industries is fully acquiring Vance Design Group. A father could not be happier to bring his daughter's company home." My grip tightened on the phone, and to celebrate this union, he said, "My daughter has a special announcement about her future." He turned toward her and leaned in, his mouth close to her ear. To the cameras it looked like support. I knew it was a leash. "She's going to fold," Marco said in my ear. "Kai, she's going to let him win." On the screen, Natalia stepped to the mic. She looked out over the crowd, board members, investors, reporters, wolves in nice shoes. She opened her mouth. Her gaze swept the room. She looked like she was searching for a door that was not there. My body moved before my brain caught up. "No," I said, "she isn't." I grabbed my keys and my jacket. "Kai," Marco said. "What are you doing?" "What I always do," I said, "trying to fix something before it falls." I hung up, shoved my boots on and ran. The drive to the hotel was a blur of red lights and cold air. I did not have time for a suit. I wore clean jeans, a button-down, and my work boots. I did not care. Victor could choke on it. At the hotel, I tossed my keys to the valet hard enough to make him flinch and pushed through the front doors. The staff tried to stop me. I kept moving. "Ballroom," I said to the first person in a black vest I saw. "Second floor, straight back," they said, pointing. I took the stairs 2 at a time. My heart hammered. I reached the ballroom doors as a cheer rose from inside. I pulled one door open and stepped in. The room was bright and hot. Cameras lined the back wall. Tuxedos and gowns filled the tables. Victor stood to the side of the stage, face glowing with pride that looked like a mask. Natalia was at the mic. She saw me. For a moment, everything else faded. The noise dropped to a low hum. Her eyes locked on mine across the room. Surprise hit first, then something else. Relief. She took a real breath. I saw her chest rise and fall like it mattered again. "I have an announcement," she said. Her voice came out stronger this time. It echoed to the back of the room. Victor's smile froze. "My father believes a woman needs a merger to be legitimate," she said. "He believes my company is a hobby that should be absorbed." A ripple moved through the crowd. "He is wrong," she said. Victor stepped closer to the mic, fake smile tight. "Natalia, this is not the time." She turned her head just enough to cut him off without touching him. Then she pointed straight at me. "Kaisen Miller," she said. My name rang out under the chandeliers. "He taught me something. You can't fix a weak foundation with expensive paint." All eyes swung toward me. I stood there in my boots and jeans and suddenly felt the weight of every stare. Victor's face went red. He stepped forward and grabbed her arm. "Enough," he hissed. "You will not throw your life's work away for some contractor." Natalia ripped her arm free with a sharp twist. The mic caught the soft sound of her breath. "Do not touch me," she said. Her voice was calm, but it hit like a slap. The room went silent. "I am not merging with Vance Industries," she said clearly. "And I am not marrying for leverage, not for investors, not for my father." His smile broke. "You ungrateful." She walked away from him. Every step off that stage was a choice. She stepped down and moved through the room like the crowd was just another obstacle. People turned. Chairs scraped. Cameras turned to follow her. She stopped when she reached me. Up close, I could see the small tremble in her hands, the fast rise and fall of her chest. Her chin was still up. "You came," she said. "I told you," I said. My voice felt rough. "I don't fold. I'm just slower with tuxedos." Quote. For the first time that night, her mouth curved into a real smile. It was small and shaky and beautiful. She lifted a hand and rested her fingertips against my jaw. Her touch was soft but sure. "Kaisen," she said quietly, "I'm going to do something, and I need you to tell me no if it's not what you want." My heart hit my ribs. I did not speak. I just nodded once. She rose on her toes and kissed me. It was not a stage kiss, not a show. It was short and fierce and clean. Her lips pressed to mine like a promise, not a performance. For a second, the ballroom disappeared. There was only the warmth of her mouth and the way her fingers curled against my cheek like she was holding on. When she pulled back, her eyes searched mine like she was checking if I was still there. I stayed. Behind her, Victor's voice shook the air. "This is insanity," he shouted. "You are throwing everything away for a stunt." Natalia did not turn around. "This is not a stunt," she said. "This is me choosing." Security shifted near the walls. The board members whispered. The cameras kept rolling. She took my hand. Her fingers slid between mine, weaving tight. No slipping, no tape needed. "Walk with me," she said. We left the ballroom together. My boots squeaked on the polished floor. Her dress whispered with each step. In the hallway, the noise from the gala faded to a muffled roar. Natalia leaned back against the wall for a second and closed her eyes. Her hand was still in mine. "You just set your father on fire in front of half the city," I said softly. Her eyes opened. They were bright and steady. "He lit the match," she said. "I just stopped pretending I could not see it." "Now what?" I asked. "Now," she said, pushing off the wall. "I fight where it matters." She straightened her shoulders. The CEO was back, but something was different. There was no empty glass look now. There was steel. "You know he's going to come after you harder," I said. "After both of us." "I know," she said, "but he cannot say I used you to win the board now. I walked away from his deal in public." Her fingers squeezed mine. "You cut the weapon out," she said. "Now I will show them he was the one holding the knife." I looked at her and felt something settle inside me, like a joint clicking back into place. "You're not alone in this," I said. "I know," she answered. For once, there was no pride in the way she said it, just truth. That is why I am not afraid. The fallout was coming. Lawyers, papers, headlines. But in that hallway, with her hand locked in mine and her lipstick still on my mouth. All I could think was one simple thing. Whatever came next, we had already crossed the line where this stopped being a deal and started being real. The fallout came fast. The next week was a blur of headlines and phone calls. Heiress rejects father's merger. Family war at Vance Industries. Her face was everywhere. Mine showed up in the background of a few shots. The guy in boots who did not belong in crystal halls. Lawyers called. Journalists called. My voicemail filled up. I stopped answering numbers I did not know. The stock dipped. Reporters called it daughter drama and emotional instability. Victor fed that story every chance he got. He dragged my name into it too. She is being influenced by a contractor. She is risking long-term stability for a fling. I heard all of it. I kept working anyway. I welded. I sanded. I cut walnut and brass. The phone buzzed on my bench again and again. Sometimes it was her. Sometimes it was her office. I did not pick up when I was holding a torch. 2 weeks later, I got a short text from her number. Board vote today. That was all. The meeting was closed. No cameras. Just the board, Victor and Natalia. Later, she told me what happened. Victor went in swinging. She embarrassed the company. She destroyed a merger. She is reckless. She is too emotional to hold the trust. He tried to use us. He showed them photos. He pushed the inappropriate vendor relationship line. He waved papers and spoke like the floor already belonged to him. Then, Natalia stood. She did not cry. She did not yell. She laid out a timeline. Emails. Letters. His visits to my shop. His threats. The way he had used the trust as a weapon. The way he tried to force her into marriage as a business move. She showed them my contract termination. The dates. The proof that I had cut ties before the gala. That there was no active vendor relationship when she refused the merger. She did what she always did best. She presented facts like tools and used them to build her case. The board members shifted in their seats. They did not love drama. They loved clean numbers and clean risk. Victor had none left. When they voted, they chose to keep her on as head of the firm and keep the trust in place. When she told me that part, she did it in one simple text. Still standing. I read those 2 words in the middle of my noisy shop, surrounded by sawdust and metal, and my knees felt weak with relief. Days passed. Then a week. I did not know what we were now. We were not vendor and client. We were not fake spouses. We were something that did not fit on a form. The answer came on a gray afternoon when the shop doors opened, and she walked in wearing jeans again. Dark denim. Still stiff. Still wrong on her, and somehow exactly right. She stopped near my workbench and slid her hands into her pockets. "Nice pants," I said, pushing a plane along a piece of cherry wood. They almost looked broken in. "They are uncomfortable," she said, "but Marco says they make me look approachable." "Marco talks too much," I said. She smiled a little and set a folder down on the bench between us. "I have a new agreement," she said. I wiped my hands and opened it. Clean lines. Plain English. No trap. "It is not employment," she said. "It is partnership. Your shop stays independent. My company stays independent. We only join for projects we both choose." She met my eye. "No leverage, no secrets, 50-50. "You are giving away equity," I said. "I am investing in the foundation," she answered. "The last few weeks proved something. I do not want anyone to own my work. Not my father, not investors, not you." Her gaze sharpened. "I want someone to stand beside it. And beside me." Silence settled around us. The heater rattled in the corner. A saw clicked in the back where my guys were cleaning up. She took one small step closer. "I also have a dinner tonight with a client," she said. "I do not need a fake husband." "Good," I said. "I would like a real date," she added, and the words came out careful but steady. "With you." My chest felt too tight for a second. I looked down at the contract, then back at her. "Sign the partnership," I said. "Then we can talk about the date." She rolled her eyes, but there was relief in it. "You are impossible." "Sign it," I repeated. She took the pen from my bench and signed her name with a clean, strong stroke. Then she slid the pen across. I signed under hers. Just like that, we were partners, on paper and off it, even if we did not say the second part out loud yet. 6 months later, the proof was all around us. The hotel lobby we redesigned buzzed with people. Lights reflected off brass and glass that had once only existed in sketches on my work table. Reporters snapped photos in front of the new atrium. The launch party was loud and polished and expensive. I hated it. I stood near the bar where Marco was pouring champagne instead of beer and tugged at my collar. "You look like you swallowed a nail," Marco said, handing me a glass. "I hate parties," I said. "I would rather be cutting wood." "Your name is on the project, brother," he said. "Smile once, then you can go hide in the stairwell." Across the room, Natalia was talking to a senator. Silver dress again, this one softer, less armor, more celebration. She looked powerful and sure. She also looked like she was counting the minutes. Her eyes found mine. She excused herself from the senator without asking permission and walked straight toward me. The room seemed to open for her. "You look bored," she said, smoothing my lapel like she owned the suit and the man inside it. "I hate parties," I said again. "Told you that on day one." "1 hour," she said, "then we leave." "To my place?" I asked. She shook her head. "Yours. I like the drafty warehouse." She reached into her small purse and pulled out a tiny box. "I found this," she said. Inside was a small square of gray friction tape, folded neat, the same kind I had wrapped inside her ring months ago. "You kept it," I said. "Of course," she said simply. "Why?" I asked. Her eyes softened. The noise of the party blurred around us. "Because it was the first time anyone fixed something for me without asking what it would cost," she said. "No leverage, no angle, just steady hands." Something hot and full pushed up behind my ribs. She closed the box and slipped it back into her purse. Then, in front of the senator, the investors, the press, and anyone else who cared to look, she took my hand. She did not hide it. She did not play it off as a joke. Her fingers slipped between mine and held tight. "Ready to go home, partner?" she asked. I squeezed her hand back. "Lead the way, boss," I said. She smiled, real and bright, and for once I did not feel like a fraud in a suit. I felt like exactly what I was. A builder who had helped her rebuild her life from the foundation up. A man who had walked into a fake marriage and walked out with something that finally felt real.